Today is what Donald Trump is calling Liberation Day. Now, this is the day he was announcing all of his reciprocal tariffs, etc. And he was giving a press conference in front of a hand-picked audience in the Rose Garden outside the White House. And of course, he showed how little he knows about American history and economics and foreign policy. And what was he talking about? Well, when he was talking about tariffs, he was talking about 1913 and the formation of the Internal Revenue Service and how they shifted from tariffs only as a way of paying for the funding of all of the government to income tax, and how backing off of tariffs he claims is what led to the Great Depression. And then he said they tried to bring tariffs back, but it didn't work. And he went on to talk about how FDR and how it took us years to recover, even longer than FDR's term, which is slightly true. It took till pretty much the end of Truman's term, but that was because FDR did not live to the end of World War II. But it really took going into World War II to fix the economy. But Donald Trump is blaming the lack of tariffs for the Great Depression. What the cause was that the stock market was new. It had never really dipped. It had done nothing but gain, and people were borrowing money. Banks were borrowing money. Everybody was investing money into the stock market. And then once it dipped for the first time, everybody freaked out. They tried to go get their money back out of the bank. The bank didn't have it because they had been playing the stock market. And then people didn't have money to pay their loans that they borrowed to put money into the stock market, and the whole thing collapsed around it because there was no safety net. There were no protocols to make sure banks were solvent. None of that. And then while that was going on in 1930, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act was passed and signed into law by President Hoover, which actually put 20% tariffs on everything across the board and made it much worse and made the Great Depression that much deeper and that much harder to get out of. But Donald Trump claims that tariffs were the cause, or that were not the cause. The lack of tariffs were the cause, and that's ridiculous on its face. Donald Trump is trying to rewrite history and make it fit his narrative and his agenda, and that's just not true. Donald Trump doesn't understand how most things work. He just says the first thing that comes to his head that fits the narrative he already has in his head, and his supporters will repeat and parrot those ideas because they give a lot of weight to the office of the presidency, and they think he must know something because he is the president. They can't separate the man from the office and realize he's just an idiot and doesn't know what he's talking about. So we're going to be hearing this talking point for a while until he comes up with something new.